Hello, this is part 5 of talking about presuppositionalism. Please go back to the other videos if you want to get caught up to speed here, what we're talking about here on this website and why. But we're talking about in conjunction with Dr. Peterson and Sam Harris, debating Dr. Peterson using presuppositionalism. Here's the website, proofthatgodexists.org. We went through these on the previous videos, so hopefully you go through those. So again, we're going to avoid the absolute truth does not exist and the other options that will take us into circular patterns or just keep taking us into circles until we finally admit that there is absolute truth. And we want to then get into the next step of saying knowledge. I know something to be true. Yes. Let's just keep taking the positives here. So it acknowledges here that truth does exist and we know some things to be true. So that we're getting closer to knowing that God exists according to presuppositionalism. The logical proof would be irrelevant to someone who denies that logic exists. An example of a law of logic is the law of non-contradiction. This law states, for instance, that it cannot both be true that my car is in the parking lot and that it is not in the parking lot at the same time and in the same way. So clicking logic exists, yes. Is it universal? Again, they simply add on to that if logic is universal, or is it up to the individual? Are contradictions invalid only where you are and only because you say they are, or is it universally true? So let's continue with the positives here. We're continuing on with our narrative. We've acknowledged this, and now that we're going into logic, is it universal? Is it unchanging? We go to the next positive. It does not change. Now it's saying that it is not made of matter. Basically, it's saying that it's not just some abstract, in other words, logic made of matter, or is it an abstract entity? So let's say it's not made of matter. Now we've acknowledged that there's absolute truth, that logic exists, and that it's universal and changing. So if you believe that logic is material or immaterial, right? So we have to believe it's immaterial, it's not made of matter. They don't really get into why this is here. But anyway, to me, I think it gets a little fuzzy there. So this is saying you've reached this step. You've admitted that there's absolute truth. You know things to be true, that logic exists, and that it is universal, not made of matter, and does not change. There's the proof that God exists. And once you get on there, there's a whole narrative. I'm not going to read all these things. You can go on the website. I think, again, there's the arguments. I'll get back into my slide here. So my arguments here is that, does this really get us into knowing that the Bible is true, that Jesus is God? So there's these gaps here. And this has been recognized and brought up and criticized by other debaters. But the reason I'm going into presuppositionalism is because this is what Dr. Peterson seems to be based on. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know what you think about that, because I've seen his debates. If you watch my other videos, I argue why I think that is. But many people argue that this is circular reasoning. But the Christian presuppositionalists would say, no, these are axioms and that they're absolute truth. So we finished these things in the presuppositional and this exercise on this. So we want to get into the next video with talking about when Dr. Peterson and Sam Harris get into some of those issues, as he did with Matt Delahunty. And these are the debates that I've watched Dr. Peterson enough to see this, that there's a presuppositionalism, and you basically acknowledge that there is a God because there's knowledge, logic, and truth. And this is evidence of God by word, and that the word is established, given to us through the Bible. And so that's some of their arguments. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Please share this with your friend, a loved one, and subscribe. Join the community here.